Hi, third graders. We're going to continue our read aloud that we were reading before spring break. So it's the part 2 of Tales from the Odyssey, and we're on chapter 6, The Old Man of the Sea. The horses stopped at the gate of the palace. Telemachus and Nestor's son could hear sounds of a celebration coming from inside. Servants greeted the two strangers at the gate. The young men were welcomed and treated as grandly as royal visitors. Telemachus knew that this was the custom of all the Greeks. Wandering travelers received the greatest courtesy, for a man never knew when he himself might be a stranger in another stranger's house. Servants washed and anointed the two young men with sweet-smelling oil. They gave them the finest purple robes. Then they led them into the great hall. Telemachus marveled at what he saw there. The splendor seemed greater than that of the sun or the moon. Telemachus and Nestor's son were seated near the king. They were served rich foods and golden goblets filled with wine. "Welcome," said King Menelaus. "Have your supper, then you shall tell me who you are and from where you have come." As Telemachus ate, he looked about the great hall. The room gleamed with bronze, gold, and amber, and with ivory and silver. "This palace seems like the very home of Zeus," he whispered to his friend. King Menelaus overheard Telemachus's words. "Ah, I must not be compared with the god of Olympus," he said. "After the Trojan War, I traveled to many countries and gathered many treasures. But none of them take away the sorrow I still feel for my comrades who were slain by the Trojans or who died on their voyages home. There is one I grieve for more than all the rest, for I have heard how his family still aches for his return. His mother died of her grief. His wife and his father have nearly gone mad with sorrow. Even his son mourns night and day for him, though the boy was but a babe when his father sailed away to war." Telemachus covered his face to hide his tears. The king had perfectly described the family of Odysseus. At that moment, Queen Helen came down from her perfumed room and entered the hall. Looking as beautiful as the most exquisite goddess, she took her seat beside the king. "Who are these strangers?" she asked her husband. "Does not one of them look remarkably like the great Odysseus?" Nestor's son nodded. "Indeed, this is the son of Odysseus," he said. "He is shy in your presence. My father Nestor has sent me with him to seek news of his father. In all Ithaca there is no one to help him fight the injustices he faces." Menelaus was greatly moved to learn the identity of his young guest. "Your father was much loved," he told Telemachus. Then the king and the queen, Telemachus, and even the son of Nestor wept for the lost warrior. "He was a great warrior," said Helen. "When I was held captive in Troy, it was his bravery and cunning that rescued me." "Ah," said Menelaus, "I remember well how he dared to hide in the great wooden horse. Under the cover of night, he unlocked the gates of Troy so we could lay siege to the city." Telemachus nodded. "Your Majesty, my father was very brave indeed," he said sadly, "but all his courage and cunning could not save him from his fate. Let us go to our beds now and seek peace from this sorrow and sleep." Queen Helen ordered her maids to make beds for the guests in the gallery of the palace. Servants led the two young men from the great hall by torchlight and offered them blankets and fine woolen gowns. Weary from their long journey, Telemachus and the son of Nestor finally lay down to rest. Before dawn, Menelaus rose and went to the place where Telemachus slept. He woke the young man and spoke softly to him. "Tell me exactly why you came to see me in my palace," he said. "How can I help you?" Telemachus told the king about the suitors who had greedily moved into his father's home. "If your father knew this," said Menelaus, "he would tear them to pieces." "Do you have news of him?" asked Telemachus. "Can you tell me anything?" "Pray, do not soften your words." "I will tell you what I know," said the king. "There is an island in the sea near Egypt where many voyagers stop to rest before sailing on. My ship landed there after the war. I was lost and did not know if any of my comrades had journeyed safely back home. One day, while I was wandering alone, a sea nymph told me to speak to her father, the old man of the sea." "Who is he?" asked Telemachus. "He is a sea god," said Menelaus. "He is Poseidon's herdsman who tends to the seals. There is a time of day when he rises to the surface to count his flocks. To catch him, one must hold him fast, for he can change his shape into many forms. He can be any of the creatures that move about the earth. He can be water or fire. But if you can hold him fast, when he is himself again, you may ask him your questions." "And did you catch the strange sea god?" Telemachus asked with wonder. Yes, I waited until he emerged to count his seals. Then I rushed upon him and seized him, said the king. He quickly turned into a lion, then a snake, then a leopard, then a boar. He became running water and then a tree, but I held him fast until he changed back into himself again. When I asked him how I might get home, he gave me wise advice. When I asked him about the fate of my friends, he told me about those who had died. When I wept with grief, he told me that one great warrior was still alive. He said that Odysseus was trapped on the island of Calypso. The goddess was keeping him there against his will. Telemachus rejoiced to hear that his father must still be alive. Menelaus told him more about his journeys, then took his leave. Left alone, Telemachus was restless with excitement. Is my father still on Calypso's island, he wondered? Should I go in search of him there? Or should I return home at once and tell my mother the good news?